We live in a world that's constantly trying to break our mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual well-being. This means that regardless of obstacles, it's our duty, our responsibility, and our obligation to figure out how to live a happy and healthy life for as long as we possibly can. So before we get started, I'd like to ask you a few questions to really get the wheels in your brain turning a little bit. I want to know, who here brushed their teeth this morning? Who here washed their hands today? Who here has drank some water at some point throughout the day? If you answered no to all three of these questions, I'm a little concerned about you. But if you answered yes to any of these questions, congratulations. You have a relationship with chemistry. You see, we all have a relationship with chemistry. And if we want to build sustainable lifestyles, then we should be critically thinking about this relationship we have with the chemistry we interact with every day. The problem is, if we don't consciously choose these chemistries we use every day, there's a high likelihood that the ingredients in these products are harming our brain chemistry, our gut biome, and our hormone production. Whether we know it or not, we're being exposed to different forms of poison on a day-to-day basis. It's in our food, water, agriculture, personal care products, household products, industrial products. It's everywhere. Chemical warfare is the problem of our lifetime. And if we solve this problem, we save the human race. And unfortunately, if we don't solve this problem, then humans will eventually cease to exist. And yes, unfortunately, the stakes are that high. Look, as leaders building a better world, we're not just fighting external battles like climate change or corporate greed. We're up against a broken system that's poisoned at every level. This is a fight as old as time. It's the battle between toxic and healthy, or good versus evil. We have a human health problem where our biology is getting hijacked by all different types of chemistries. And these poisons can take many different forms. It's chemical poisons in our products. It's toxic thoughts poisoning our minds. It's toxic communication patterns. It's toxic relationships. And as leaders, we really have to figure out how to preserve and amplify our life force energy, which means identifying toxins that are negatively impacting our long-term health. Our goal is simple: remove toxic everything and replace it with healthier alternatives. And sustainable solutions are what will help us attain better human and planetary health outcomes over the coming years. So just so that we get a better understanding of where we're at as a human race, I really would like to take us through the first 60 minutes of toxin exposure in the average person's day. So here's how a typical day works for the average human being. We wake up, brush our teeth, maybe wash our hands, take a shower. We put on some lotions, creams, deodorant. We put on some clothes, grab something to eat, drink, and then we go out into the world and consume products and services. So by the time you walk out of the door in the morning, you've already been exposed to over 100 different types of chemicals. So again, if we're not consciously choosing the chemicals that we're using, then we're putting our biology at risk of getting hijacked by toxic ingredients. And on the next slide, I'm going to show you a short list of some of the toxic chemicals found in each of these categories. Now, unfortunately, this problem is invisible to the human eye. We can't necessarily see the synthetic materials infiltrating our bodies, or how they're silently disrupting our gut biome, or dysregulating our brain chemistry, or throwing our hormone production into chaos. And it doesn't stop there. These poisons feed into toxic thoughts and relationships and emotional states. And this is the problem of our lifetimes. So when we think about problems like political unrest or AI or social media, these problems pale in comparison to the one problem that's most likely to destroy humanity and the planet as we know it: a broken system riddled with chemical warfare. Now, the purpose here is not to get you to read this entire list, but it's worth noting some of the patterns here. In the food and beverage ingredients, we see a bunch of synthetics, sweeteners, preservatives, dyes, emulsifiers, pesticide residues, PFAS, microplastics. And then, of course, in the consumer products, again, we see more synthetics, more pesticides, more PFAS, more microplastics. And we have contaminants like phthalates, parabens, formaldehyde, flame retardants. You can see the theme here: synthetic ingredients. It's the synthetics that are creating these long-term health issues for humans. And maybe you're thinking, well, Jess, it can't be that bad, can it? Unfortunately, it's much, much worse. We're in the middle of a silent and invisible war. Roundup, a common herbicide, for example, it's found in 87% of children. Straight up poison to their systems, to all of our systems. Manufacturer of Roundups paid out tens of billions in settlements, with thousands of lawsuits in the pipeline. I also recently learned that Not only do 100% of men have microplastics in their balls, but 100% of human placentas contain microplastics as well. So what happens when our body interacts with synthetics is it throws up a 404 error. Our body does not know what to do with synthetics because it doesn't have thousands of years of history interacting with these chemistries. This is what's really causing a lot of the health complications in today's society. We want to figure out, how do we reintegrate natural chemistries that our bodies are used to interacting with? So you might be asking yourself, how do we fix this broken system? Well, lucky for you, I called the one person who I thought could help, Buddha. I said, Buddha, can you help me remove the microplastics from everyone's balls? And you know what Buddha said? Jess, it's not that easy. Even I have microplastics in my balls. I'm just kidding. Plastic's only been synthesized for the last 100 years. So chances are Buddha was microplastic free. But the reality is microplastics are trendy, but they're just one piece of the puzzle in this game of chemical warfare. Our bodies are getting tired of being exposed to all these synthetic chemistries. They have absolutely no idea what to do with them. So what does the body do? It throws up a 404 error because it's not familiar with these poisons. So what happens next? Our body mutates cells. It throws off free radicals. It gets inflamed. And inflammation and free radicals are recipes for dis-ease. Now, I'm not a medical doctor, but it doesn't take a genius to realize that synthetic poisons are dysregulating our bodies and creating an internal environment where diseases can metastasize. We all need to be asking ourselves if the actions that we're taking every day are sustainable. I can tell you from experience that sometimes we gaslight ourselves into thinking that we're on the right path. And unfortunately, this isn't just theory for me. I've lived this experience. I was building a business that at face value was sustainable in nature. In my previous company, we were developing natural fiber supply chains and using these materials as an additive to plastic. My thought was, if we could replicate supply chains of these carbon negative materials, we could effectively store this carbon produced from biomass into everyday products. And seemingly I was building a very regenerative business, but every other part of my life was poisoned. I was in a toxic business relationship. I was in a toxic intimate relationship. My thoughts were toxic. I was people pleasing. I couldn't create boundaries to save my life. And yeah, the chemical poisons in my daily routine were fueling the brain fog and chaos, which was just making it all worse. So it didn't really matter how regenerative my business was. I was living a toxic life. And it wasn't until everything fell apart that I was able to really rebuild with a more sustainable foundation. And my goal here is to help you build that sustainable foundation, hopefully without your life falling apart. So I want to help you build your toxin identification system. I'm going to outline a few different categories and we can chat through the problems and solutions in each of the categories. But here's my unique ask. I want you to pretend that we're in the year 2050. We're 25 years into the future. And I want you to tap into your internal guidance system and think about what the science will say in 25 years. Why? Consumer protections only really work in retrospect. It takes lawsuits in order for governments to protect consumers and penalize companies. Think about the ones we're all familiar with: Roundup, talc, PFAS, aspartame. All of these chemistries were bad for us 25 years ago. But by the time the lawsuits came out, the damage had already been done. And the reality is the science that comes out in 2050, it's already true today. We just haven't discovered it yet. So we want to hone our predictive analytic system to take educated guesses on what the science will say, and then make decisions today that support long-term human and planetary health. So we'll start with food, since it's something we're all reliant on. Now, as you could probably guess, synthetics are the root cause of many of the problems in our food sector. Think about sweeteners, preservatives, dyes, emulsifiers, pesticide residues. These are just some of the invisible poisons that are in everyday foods. And they're disrupting our gut biome. They're leading to inflammation. They're leading to brain fog. And of course, hormonal imbalances. These ingredients in our food have been engineered for addiction over many decades. But the solutions here are simple: organic whole foods. Typically, the less ingredients, the better. When it comes to food, awareness starts with checking labels. Now, I'm a big fan of the Yuka app, Yuka. It's completely free and it will allow you to see toxic ingredients in everyday foods. A study done by Yale in 2017 showed that 1 in 3 drugs approved by the FDA had new post-market safety issues. So when the side effects of pharmaceuticals aren't shown for years, it makes it difficult to know how to treat today's illnesses. One thing that's, I think, important to be mindful of is the incentive structure in pharmaceuticals. So pharma doesn't make any money if you're healthy, and they don't make any money if you're dead. So they only make money if you're somewhere between healthy and dead. And without going too far down this rabbit hole, I would encourage you to try natural solutions and investigate natural solutions before you expose your body to synthetics. For those of you interested in getting some baseline data on vitamins, minerals in your body that you might be naturally deficient in, I recommend taking some type of methylation test. Gary Brecka, one of the leading biologists in the space, he's big on these types of tests as you really only need to take them one time in your life to determine what you're naturally deficient in. As you walk through your home, you're going to notice chemicals all over the place. They're in your bedroom, your kitchen, your clothes, your bathroom, cleaning products, candles, air fresheners, release VOCs or volatile organic compounds. They're silent poisons that harm gut biomes, brain function, and hormone health. Poisons like this are slowly destroying our environment, our health, and our mindset. And the sustainable solutions here are pretty straightforward. Natural cleaners like vinegar or baking soda, natural soaps like Castile soap, natural candles like beeswax, clothing and sheets that use natural fibers, materials and cookware that have been around for hundreds of years. You owe it to yourself and your family to audit your home and toss the toxins. Personal care products are riddled with synthetics, and I'm sure each of you have purchased products that say no phthalates, no parabens, no sulfates. Products like shampoos, lotions, toothpaste, they're loaded with these types of chemistries that disrupt hormones, gut balance, and brain chemistry. And the solution here is pretty simple. Go to ewg.org. They have a great database and search through the personal care products that you use. Look to see if there are more sustainable alternatives, which most likely there are at least a few. There's really no excuse to continue to use toxic ingredients for years and years on end when we can investigate the sustainable solutions and go get them. So similar to food, a good rule of thumb here is to focus on reducing chemical exposure. The less chemicals, the better. Now, as you can imagine at this point in our conversation, our bodies are overwhelmed from toxin exposure. Our cells are constantly trying to detox every moment of every day. But our body's ability to detox is dependent on our body's ability to dedicate resources to the repair process. Now, here's the funny thing. When we're constantly eating 3, 4, 5 meals a day, our body is dedicating resources to processing food and converting food into energy. But when we stop eating, resources can be reallocated from digestion to other bodily functions like healing. So earlier this summer in 2025, I tried a little experiment. I had never gone one day without food ever, but I was familiar with intermittent fasting. It's something I had done for years. So one day this summer, when it got to dinner time and I wasn't hungry, I decided to try an experiment. What will happen if I don't eat tonight? And the short answer is, as you can probably guess, I survived. When I woke up the next morning, I was actually surprised at how much energy I had. So every 12 hours, I recommitted to the fasting process. And I promised myself that if I ever got hunger pains, I would just eat. But after 5 days, I was still not hungry. And the only reason I ate on day 5 was because ChatGPT told me I would start losing all my muscle if I didn't eat soon. Now, if you're going to try fasting, I highly recommend finding some type of electrolyte supplement. You see, our body's very similar to a saltwater battery. We're 70% water by weight, and our body requires minerals like potassium, magnesium, sodium to carry out bodily functions. So the electrolyte supplement I took was called LMNT. Outside of feeling really energized, the most eye-opening part of this experience was going to take out the trash on trash day. I walked up to the trash can completely on autopilot. I opened it up and realized there was nothing in there. The trash can was empty after 5 days of not eating. I think when we step back, we can realize we really live in a world of consumerism, and seemingly that's not going to change. But I do believe the one thing that could solve our international consumerism problem is an international day of fasting. This would help people realize that they really don't need a bunch of the things that they think make them happy. Now, if you're looking to go a little deeper down the rabbit hole, Parasite cleanses are a great place to start. Now, parasites can come from food, water, bugs, animals, poor hygiene. Parasites impact the human body in dozens of different ways, and there's a growing group of people that think that parasites are the root causes of many of the diseases that we're familiar with in our society today. Now, if you've been feeling low energy and you're still eating well and getting good sleep, it could be parasites that are negatively impacting you. Now, there are many ways to do a parasite cleanse, but these are the three ingredients that I've found that are the most relevant in the parasite cleansing process. It's wormwood, clove, and black walnut hull. So if you go to Amazon, you type in parasite cleanse, you're going to find a bunch of products and reviews. Most of the products will have these three key ingredients in them. So we've covered a lot of the tangible and intangible toxins that we interact with on a daily basis. Now, I know this can be a bit overwhelming, but if our goal is to remove these tangible and intangible toxins, we need a predictable way to do it. And the best way I found to identify toxins is to ask really good questions. So here's my sustainable leadership framework. These are three questions that can really help us remove toxins from our daily lives. This works for choosing products, making business decisions, handling relationships. And these questions can be used in almost any circumstance to determine the best, most sustainable path forward. First question, does this serve my highest good and the highest good of all? Second, is this extractive or regenerative? And third, what is the sustainable long-term solution to this problem? Now, asking these questions will help you tap into your intuition and your internal guidance system and really help you determine the most aligned path forward. One of the ways to get clarity on these questions is by really getting clear on your value system. And for many of us, our values will change over time. And as of today, my three values are openness, playfulness, and respect. For many years, I had a lot of people in my life who were open and playful, but not respectful. And to me, respect really regenerates the connection time and time again. It fills the bucket of the other person and really helps them become the best version of themselves. So these are the questions that have really helped me remove some of the toxic relationships from my life and create a life focused on regeneration. So if you're specifically looking for sustainable products, I've created a resource just for you. If you're looking for food products, personal care products, household products, at-home tests, even sustainability focused softwares, if you're in manufacturing or raw material supply chains, check out the Sustainable Product Repository. My team is constantly adding resources to this page, so feel free to bookmark it. But over the past 20 minutes or so, I've given you a bunch of different calls to action here, right? You can download the Yuka app to scan your food. You can take a methylation test to get data on your gut biome and DNA. You can use ewg.org to scan your personal care items and household goods and also your water. You can try a fast to allow your body to naturally detox. You can try a parasite cleanse using the three ingredients we previously discussed. You can also check out the Sustainable Product Repository if you're looking for specific recommendations on sustainable products. I'd like to think I've provided you more than enough resources to help you really kickstart your sustainable living journey. But just to make sure I overdeliver, I'd like to provide you with one last resource to help you upgrade your personal operating system. I've crafted a Notion template called Organic OS. This Notion page has been built as a project management tool to help you upgrade every area of your life. My goal is to help you make more sustainable decisions in your lives and choose sustainable products, embrace sustainable relationships, cultivate sustainable ideologies. We all want to make sustainable programming in our lives as normal as possible. So I'm happy to give you this free resource to ensure you have no excuses to make sustainable changes that positively impact yourself and the world around you. So if you follow the steps in Organic OS, I promise you'll find yourself living a more sustainable life on the other side. I appreciate you for leaning in with me today. I know some of these conversations can be a little difficult, especially when we've been making unsustainable decisions for so long. Trust me, we've all been there. No one is immune from toxins, but it's the willingness to self-reflect and take action that can help us build the regenerative future that we need and deserve. Thank you.